Welcome to another one of my videos on traveling in Europe. This one is traveling in Italy, and this episode is on the city of Florence. Of course, I went to Florence because everyone goes to Florence. It's one of the big three. Sorry, big three, I'm not sure. The big three. It's made famous by while you were sleeping. It's been made famous by the fact that, I don't know. So I asked an older gentleman I go to church with this Sunday why he would want to go to Florence. And he says for the cathedral, of course. And the cathedral is kind of nice at night. During the day in the wintertime, it looks drab. I think it's green and white on the outside, which green marble is really pretty when it's wet, and otherwise just looks like grass. It's also the hardest one I've ever seen to get into. It's only open from 10:30 to 3:20 or 3:15 or 3:45 in the afternoon, meaning that in order to see it, you have to be downtown in the middle of the day. So I didn't go inside it. It was pretty on the outside. I took pictures, but the city was actually kind of drab, generally speaking, in the wintertime. I don't know if that's because of the sun. There's no sunlight, or if it's just as a drab city that's been overhyped. So let me tell you about my experiences. So a couple of things I wanted to see there were the cathedral, of course. I wanted to see the old bridge, Ponte Vecchio. It looks really drab. And it looks dilapidated and run down. What I found really interesting about it is the design, because there were lots of bridges at the time that were like that, where people lived on the bridge. And they lived on the bridge. I have pictures, and on the little pontoons that hold up the bridge, they built their houses out onto the narrow. So it's literally the house is sitting on all the supports of the bridge, which is kind of interesting. But all the shops on the bridge are upper end jewelry stores. And I'm like, people aren't going to come here. I'm not going to Italy to buy jewelry and gold. I don't understand the appeal. Now, one cool thing about the bridge is they still have the old wooden shutters that come down over the storefronts, and that was kind of cool to see. But I only went there, I crossed it initially, and then I never went back, because what's the point? There's no need to. I used other bridges because they were more convenient to where I was going. And I saw so I saw the bridge, I saw the dome, and I went to the other church on the far west side. Let me look it up real quick. Okay, it's the Basilica di Santa Croce di Firenze. I don't know what that is in English. And just because it was an interesting church. And that's where I found the biggest surprise of my life. The best Christmas market in Italy that I went to was in Florence, because it had the largest diversity of stalls. There was a group there from Poland. There was a group there from the Netherlands. So you could get Polish food, stroopwafel. There was a guy there from Salzburg with baked goods. There was a guy from Bavaria with your traditional German sauerkraut, bratwurst, and the other cookwares. He also had potatoes, and there was lamb stew and a few other things. Let's see, who else was there? There was a group from France doing crepes. Of course, there were Italian groups, and there was also a group from Venezuela doing traditional Venezuelan street food. They weren't pretty popular, but I think that's mostly because it was raining when I was there, and so the market wasn't particularly popular to begin with. It's also the first Christmas market I've been to where there was a significant amount of seating. Not just significant amount, but they also had covered seating. So when I was there and it was raining, I was able to go under cover, sit down, and have a meal. I mean, you could get lamb shanks, you could get anything. It was decent prices. It wasn't overly expensive compared to other Christmas markets. So it's also one of two that I went to in Italy where they had souvenir mugs, which is a very German thing apparently, and not very common anywhere else. The other one was in Modena. That's the only other one that had, and it was a Tyrolean outfitter at that one that had the souvenir cups, and that's something that I've seen ever since 2019 when I started going to them as an adult. That's something that you can collect from each one, and some of the markets will have a different one every year. So if you go to Nuremberg every year, there's a Nuremberg and it has the year on it, and it's just something extra to collect, and it's an additional fee. This one is the most expensive one I've ever seen, but that's beyond the point. The point is I also wanted to go up on the mountain across the river, and get a picture of Florence at sunset. But because it was raining, there was no point. So it was just, it struck me as a big European city with a cathedral. that is overly romanticized. And people go there, and I don't know what they go there for. I've talked to the people I know who've been to Florence, and I haven't talked to anybody yet that I know who wasn't disappointed by it. Now, I will say a few other things about it that were really nice. So I came into Florence on the train, and there's a train line that goes up the spine of Italy, Naples, Rome, Florence, Bologna, and then you can take one of two spurs depending on where you're going. The other one goes up to Bolzano and into Austria, and the other one curves around to Milan. So it's on the main drag, getting up and down the spine of Italy. So it's easy to get in and out of. And the train station is very centrally located in the town. The place I stayed, there's a bus line, like literally on the next street down to the south from the when you come out of the train station. There's a bus line there, and it took me up to the old tobacco factory. That's where I got off, and basically I went down to the corner, and then like 5 houses in, and that was it. It's also the cheapest public transportation I've used outside of Rome. So it had the cheapest bus public transportation. Everything there is like 90 or 100 minutes for some reason, or you can buy a day pass, which is nice if you're making a whole bunch of stops, because I took advantage of that a few times. But in Florence, it was basically one shot, and then I'd have to pay again. So I went to one of the stores. They sell bus tickets at tobacco shops. But of course, all the ones that were close to the bus station were closed. There is a ticket in the train station, but I didn't see it until I went back the next day. So it wasn't super obvious, because I wasn't sure. I had not bought any before, and I didn't know what they looked like. So there was a machine in the train station right when you come out of the trains. Just to the west of where you come out, there's the regional train platforms where you don't have to scan your ticket just for the door to open, and there's a bus ticket vending machine right there. And so in case that helps you navigate your way around. So the train and the bus were very well connected, so you could get in and out. And there were lots of bus lines and opportunities to go into the city and go across the river, down to the palace, to cross the bridge, to see the old Roman, not the medieval gate and the wall that's down on the south end. Porta Romana is on the Via Romana, but it is not a Roman gate. In fact, there wasn't very much Rome in Florence that I could see, that I remember. There was a couple of medieval gates are still standing, but they're not spectacular compared to other cities like Bruges and Belgium. So there's a reason for that. I'll talk about Italy in general in another video. But there are lots of opportunities to get into town, see the things. There weren't a lot of things to see in Florence. The market basically was a market, and the Christmas market at that church was awesome. I went back there every night. I was there 3 nights. I went there the first night, found it, went back and ate, and then the last night I was there and talked to some people, met friends, took pictures. They were actually shocked I could talk to them. I spoke Italian, I spoke German, I spoke Spanish. I don't speak Polish or Dutch, but I spoke French to them, and because I don't know, everything was advertised in Italian because it was an Italian city, and they were marketing it predominantly to locals, I think. So I would talk to them in their language, and then they would tell me. Then I got what I wanted, even though I couldn't read it on the signs in Italian. So it was actually really cool. They've been doing this particular market according to some of the people there, for about 30 years. And so if you're looking for a really good Christmas market in Italy, I recommend Florence for that. If you're not going to go to Modena, because there's really not a lot of reason to go to Modena. I probably won't talk about it other than that. So I was incredibly disappointed by Florence, incredibly underwhelmed by its beauty. I did not go inside the dome because I wasn't there during the hours, and so I didn't spend a lot of money in Florence. I did rub the pig. I did not put a coin in its mouth and try and get a wish granted. I don't think I'll ever go back to Florence, but when in Florence, do the Florentian things. The museums there were really expensive, so I didn't go in any of them, and I wasn't really all that jazzed about art museums. I saw plenty of other art museums on my trip, so it wasn't necessary. If you want to go to Florence, I definitely, you should go do what you want to do, and it's probably nicer when it's not the winter time. Like a lot of places, I'm sure it's nicer when it's not raining. But if you do go during Christmas time, I recommend the Christmas market there at the church. I'll read it again one more time, just because the Basilica di Santa Croce di Firenze. And it's just southeast. Well, south. It's on the southeast corner of the city, about as far away from the cathedral as you can get without crossing the river. I'm glad I went over there. It's not a super big walk, but it was a little out of the way from where I think most of the tourists spend their time on the main Plaza da Signoria, and at the old palace, Palazzo Vecchio, which is kind of cool. But they did some kind of light show on it at night, so there was a thing in front of it blocking the best photo. And of course, at night there's all these lights showing on. Oh, there was a church there that was kind of cool. They had a video playing on front of it on the skin that showed the different facings it has had over the years. So that was kind of cool. I can't remember where that was. I have to look it up, but I was really underwhelmed by Florence, except for the market. But I wanted to give them a plug for that, and I definitely recommend that if you're in the area, that's a Christmas market worth checking out. So if you're in the area, I definitely recommend that. It was the best Christmas market I went to in Italy on this trip, and very reminiscent of the German ones, without some of the decor, because of course Italians aren't big into Christmas trees for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't ask. Anyway, that's all I got to say about Florence. If you like it, great. If you are also unimpressed, you're not alone. I'd like to ask my grandfather. He's the only other person I know that's been there that I already know, and but he's dead, and I would like to know what he and his wife thought when they were there. My grandma, because I know they went there. Anyway, more to come. I have other things to say about other places that were more interesting, but the Christmas market was definitely the highlight of that city. Godspeed, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year.